Good to go, Aaron?
Great. Good morning.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining. My name is Adam Schnerl. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Facility Services. So if I haven't met you, it's nice to meet you. With me today, I have Ron Anderson, who is our Director of Customer Support Services and all things, I would say, for operations and support for customer inquiries. And then Aaron Chapman, who is taking over our communications department within facilities and has done an excellent job of communicating all the good things we do in facilities, because sometimes it's not always the case. So let's jump in. See if I can click the screen here. Okay, I wanted to start with who we are. I mean, most of you know probably who Facility Services is for UCR, but I wanted to reintroduce ourselves so that you kind of knew the current state of our department. So our mission statement aligns closely with, obviously, the University of Riverside mission statement. And we really want to make sure that we're providing the best space infrastructurally and operationally for you to do what you need to do for teaching, for education, for research, all things that support the mission and vision of UCR. And we want to do that in a sustainable way. Obviously, we have a lot of sustainability goals throughout our department, throughout the university. And our vision, I would say, is a vision around innovation, high quality service, and a culture that builds in our values. So our values are respect, integrity, and diversity. And these are really important to me, and I'd say important to our organization, because we want to make sure that we have an inclusive environment for people to feel like they can make decisions, they can, make mistakes, and really step up and grow as individuals and staff throughout our department. So we want to treat others how we want to be treated, the golden rule. We want to keep and have integrity. So always do what we're going to say and say what we're going to do. And that's a big one from us. And I know that in the past, facilities has had a reputation of, well, we put in the work where we didn't hear anything, or that work never got done, and so we really want to turn that around. And that's why integrity is a big piece of our facilities values. And then diversity. I think we grow when we're different, and we can really improve our perspectives for our department. So diversity is a key factor for our value set. So that's us at a high level. And then if we go one layer down, I'll introduce you to sort of our groups, which you likely know. Ron here is head of our client support services team. So you can see a new work order system we're about to roll out, and we'll talk about, is a big piece of this. Really trying to make sure that we provide the best customer service we can for the university. We have an environmental resource services team. That is, think custodial, grounds, landscape, excuse me. And that team's through Hassan. Excuse me. So, and you probably know Hassan if you've worked here for a little while. And then our energy and engineering team, we run our own power plant. It's not a cogeneration plant, but we run steam and chilled water for the campus for heating and cooling. We provide electric. So really to keep you up and running throughout the year. And then we do energy efficiency and energy projects. And so that team is really integrated with sustainability. So a big piece of that, and David Placios is at the head of that department. And then maintenance services, we have Chris Pillen, and managing all things that is, I would say, day-to-day operations for skilled trades and maintenance. So you think plumbing, you think painting, electrical, all those things fall under Chris. And I'd be remiss not to say that Nils also is our central plant operator and manager, and he helps keep pretty much the lights on for the entire campus. So this is us. We are operating a mini city, if you will, I would say, with a lot of help throughout the university partners. Any questions on us as a facilities department? All right, you're here to hear about guide to services. So why are we changing some of our guide to services? What is this? Guide to services is everything we do for you and the service level in which we do it, right? So I think this is really important because it provides clarity of all of the services facilities offers for the university. some that we may not offer, and that's clearly spelled out. And then what's the difference between whether we're going to charge or not charge for that service, and depends on the space and location and ownership of alike. So these are changes that we haven't done since 2000, I would say 19, I believe. So it was time for us to look at our service levels again, and that's why we're here. So did anyone have a chance to look at this? We've sent the link out, and it's a pretty big document. I just was curious if those on the call out had a chance to review. I think Dave kind of shook his head. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, no worries. You still have a chance to look at it. But I'm going to go over some of the highlights and important service level changes. And then again, feel free to ask questions throughout this one. So in the beginning of the year, the calendar year, we looked at and did implement changes around our keys. So our access controls throughout the campus are really heavily around keys. And this service was free for the university. So we would cut keys and provide access for everyone at sort of a zero-sum cost. So we've implemented changes around that. Our key policy went into effect January 1st of 23, and we began charging for keys. One is the first key is $25, and the subsequent keys are $15. So far, so good. We know that's a large change for the university, but we haven't been able to really sustain ourselves in terms of that operation. So this is a small piece of getting back to normalizing support for keys. I think, again, this was a big change. We rolled it out, but the way I rolled it out, I went to CFAOs and deans, and I would say it didn't trickle all the way down. So I had a lot of feedback about, well, why can't we, talk about the changes more widely? And that's a piece of why we're doing these town halls, meetings, so that we can talk about all the changes that facilities is implementing, so that people are not surprised. The next one is around event setups. So this is going to be a new change for folks. Starting in the new fiscal year, we will be charging for event setups and moves. So we've had I think maybe people know our group called Day Crew, resource staff, and they do a lot of this for us. Now, we'll continue to support graduation, even though, majority will be offsite this year. We'll continue to support like Spring Splash and big events to the university. But the recharge model for smaller events and for requests for schools and departments will be at a recharge rate. Now, we do move lots of stuff. So our resource service staff is moving fume hoods, they're moving electronic waste, they're helping to move tables and chairs and everything in between. So that might be a change. We do partner, I think the university partners quite frequently with Burgess moving. And so we may have an opportunity to continue to use them if our staff is not able to support you in this effort. But I do think, our rates are reasonable, and we'll still be able to continue to help you with these two pieces of our operation, just at a cost. Any questions on the first three before I move on? Okay. So projects, this is a big one. We have just put in, I would say just, but we've been developing and I'd say more recently launched a real project management team within facility services. And this is something new, right? We used to have a minor renovations prioritization process where each school got so many projects and we would do them. This is sort of a more holistic approach where we're bringing in our project managers to take on any and all projects that come our way and helping to scope them and juggle them according to the requests. So we went from one project manager, Dan Lerman, to I would say fully now 4 plus an administrative support staff. So we're able to help you with your projects. There's a new process for us to triage, whether it's going to go to PD&C or us. And our timelines for communication and implementation should really tighten up and improve. So that's really the impetus around this. There's a rate for which they're going to be supporting customer supported projects. It aligns with what the PD&C rate is. So if you've got a big project, we'll help you with that. If you got a small project, we'll help you with that. And new faculty projects will still continue to be free, quote unquote, free under $50,000 for new faculty support for this next fiscal year. Any questions on projects? Okay. And then the last three, carpentry, sign shop, utilities. Well, I'll take carpentry and sign shop. So carpentry, a lot of these things are smaller, but add up. So seismic restraints, furniture bracing, keyboard installation, wall mounts, sort of the smaller pieces of operational support that you all need. These things also were free, and they won't be a large cost going forward because they're simple work for the most part, but we will be charging for that type of service and support. Obviously, if it's aligning with a new faculty and we can support this as part of that effort, then we would not charge you. But this is going to be a change because we know there's a lot of this that goes on, and we want to make sure we do it right. Sign shop changed recently in terms of what we offer in terms of nameplates and all of the in-betweens, signs on the walls, restroom signs. So that's outlined in our website with what we do and what we will not be doing. And then we're going to work with campus because I would say wayfinding is a challenge at UCR, and we know that. So we'll have an opportunity to work with them more robustly to figure out what is the vision for next steps, how can we support that? Because as you know, I can't use the new term here. I'm not new anymore, but I still get lost when I'm walking throughout campus trying to find certain locations. So I get that. And then utilities, this really isn't super applicable to this group, but we are working towards charging customers, recharge customers for the actual cost of providing utilities for the campus. So student recreation center, housing, those units that use our utilities, obviously, we're continuing to put monies in from an infrastructural standpoint and operation standpoint, but we've always just passed on the direct costs. So this is another add that will help us, I would say, get ahead of the deferred maintenance, unscheduled problems that we have, and really just update our entire utilities infrastructure throughout campus so that we can prevent unscheduled, unplanned outages or issues associated with steam, chilled water, and electric. There goes my lights. So, any questions on this slide before I move on? By group today, okay. So why change? What's the point? Why do all this, right? I'm not a fan of just changing to change or shaking things up just to do it. There's a few reasons, and I don't think all of them are listed here, but I put the highlights. The focus on maintenance is really important, and I would say, sacrificed a little of that over the years, and we're in the place we are currently because of that. So what do I mean? We've really had our maintenance team, so Chris Pillen and the trades, all the shops do everything, right? So all the projects, all the regular maintenance, and we've never had an opportunity to kind of separate out into buckets the services that are really needed to be separated. So we feel like UCR has an opportunity right now to really advance in what we need for repairs and attention to deferred maintenance and the things that are just falling apart. And you all know what I'm talking about. You're in our buildings that you see significant issues with, and we need to make an effort there to get those back to, I would say, baseline. How are we going to do that? We've implemented a preventive maintenance program. It's a year old, but it's we're testing the waters on different processes here, but we've never had a true preventive maintenance program for UCR. So think about your car. I use this analogy, I think, in every presentation. If you don't put oil in your car, you don't change the filters, you don't rotate your tires, your car is probably not going to be in great shape after 50, 100,000 miles. I mean, even if you can make it that long. We've operated in that capacity here at UCR, where we've let things almost run, well, not almost, but we've let things run to fail. And that's not great for a lot of equipment. And so the preventive maintenance program is going to help us continue to extend the life of the assets of the equipment that we really need to, so that you don't see impacts to operations for your buildings, for your faculty, for your staff. And that's really the impetus here. And doing that, we need to separate out and make sure that we have sort of the recharge lens, the projects lens, and the preventive maintenance lens sort of separated, and that's why we're moving in this direction. It's also a building of consistency. So we meet with other UCs on a regular basis, and we would like, to align with them. And most other UCs, if you look at their service levels, go to Davis's website or, San Diego, we're lining back to what makes sense to recharge for services that are not, I would say, core supported. So if you're occupying a space and it's your department or school, and you would like or want 60-inch flat screen TV, those are services that are just, would be nice to have. So we would provide that at a cost. And I think that aligns again with what the other UCs are doing, and it just builds consistency. We can provide, I would say, improved service if we have the ability to separate out, again, into the buckets that are more clear for our staff. So adjusting the services and the timelines are really important, and I'll go into that next, but it's really important so that we can look at how to improve our common spaces. So we've let sort of the campus go, if you will, to some degree, and we want to make investments back in restrooms and entryways and hallways, all that kind of stuff, so that when people walk into our buildings, they feel good about them. And then when they get to your space, everything's working correctly. And then last but not least, obviously cost. We want to make sure that we have an operating budget that makes us able to support the campus overall. And just like everybody knows budgets are tight, and we have to do more with less, but we do have limited resources. So this is just a piece of the strategy. We will not be cash rich, I promise you, from recharge shifts. It's just going to cover, I would say, that the day-to-day operations that we need to cover. Okay, moving right along, unless there's any questions, and again, feel free to raise your hand. We've shifted our prioritization levels. So when I first got here, it was 30 days for SL4s. I think I almost got this wrong. This is the fourth presentation. I always ask Raman. It was 45 days for SL6s. Is that right?
Sixes are currently 60 days. You're so close. So close.
Man, 60 days. So even worse. So that's crazy to me. That was one thing I wanted to change right away, but obviously needed to get buy-in and support and build a strategy for it. So we're cutting these down. I'd like to even cut them down further, but we didn't get there. So these are our commitments to you. And it has been communicated with our shops and our custodial and all that good stuff. So it is going to be a shift, because there's been a tendency to, we got a work order and okay, it might be complicated, and it kind of sits for a while. And then unless you all escalate, sometimes it just sits. And that's not how we want to operate at all. And so I think making sure that we have these service levels prioritization is really important. So I can measure our team, we can measure our team on, hey, how many work orders are over 90 days, or how many work orders did you not scope under the 21-day mark for SL6, and so on and so forth. So this is really important for us. As you see, Ron and his team processes over 40,000 work orders a year. That's a lot, and that's not even the emails and the phone calls and the back and forth that we do. And he's got 2 individuals to help support that. So it's really a big lift, but this, I think, will help us moving forward. And I think it will help you all too, because you're not going to be waiting so long for things to happen. Any questions? Anything in the chat, Aaron?
No, nothing in the chat.
Right. And so I mentioned that we want to implement sort of a new program to help us update common space. So, as a result of doing a bunch of this recharge, we always get emails, work orders around, hey, this hallway needs painted, or this restroom really needs a touch up, and we know, right, a lot of the time, we know that there's areas that need severe support. It's just a matter of how we triage to go out and do those. So we have a whole list of those. We're going to figure out a process to look at improving, again, our high visibility areas, our first impression areas, our hallways, our restrooms, our areas where you would take donors maybe, or faculty, new faculty, staff. And we'll come up with a process for that so that we can chip away at some of these projects year over year. And we don't have it all figured out yet, but I've committed to spending our operational budget to do a number of projects throughout the campus, and then we'll rotate and we'll make sure it's equitable. I don't know if we'll belabor a whole committee process or not, but we'll go down that road. So any suggestions or opinions around this, feel free to reach out to us about it. We really want to make sure that we can implement something that, again, is for the benefit of everybody. There's lots of common space here at UCR, and we want to improve those spaces so people feel like our campus is top notch. So coming soon. And then last but not least, and I'm cruising through this one, which is fine, is our new work order system. So Ron has been at the helm of our new work order system now for about 6 months, I want to say, if not more, and we're cramming in a process that should take about 2 years into around 9 to 12 months. So this is a new work order system that will help us and you have more visibility on the work orders you submit, where they are in the process, giving us the ability to look at pictures or floor plans, having it route better throughout our department. So I'll let Ron just briefly talk about what he's been working on here, because this is going to be a major impact for us in facilities, but again, for the campus as Impact 23 comes down on us here at the end of June.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so we actually began over a year ago, prior to understanding the impact of Impact 23 and boundary systems, which is the terminology used by ITS for systems that are not managed by ITS. So facilities is FAMIS work order system, known as FAMIS Classic, has been around for over 20 years, 23, 24 years in various formats. We looked at all of the other UC systems, looked at what they were using. We created some internal surveys to review with our staff on what their needs were. And we ended up landing on FAMIS 360. So we knew that was going to be the future goal of our work order system. So we began in earnest right before the winter break in finalizing our contracts and getting going with creating FAMIS 360 to tie with the Impact 23 July 1st deadline. What you're seeing there is just a real quick snippet of what the customer view is. So a couple of really nice things about it is it provides like current state SSO login. So you just go to facilities.ucr.edu. When we go live, the link you select today to go to FAMIS Classic will automatically be updated to FAMIS 360. There will be no blackout period. We will be able to, the goal is that you will be able to submit work orders as needed throughout this entire process. What you can see here is the work order system allows you to create requests, view your requests, which is work orders you might have submitted, or you can actually make yourself a watcher if you support a dean or an administrative leader and they had a concern and you want to follow it. You can actually make yourself a watcher if you did not submit the work order. You can make that person the watcher, and you can look from that perspective as well. So my request is anything you've submitted and anything that you're watching on behalf of your organization. And then the find request is a very dynamic, much more open, searchable functionality. The functionality is more open in regards to you can search by a building or a location. It's very similar to the functionality that we had internally for some of our campus buildings. So we plan to go live with this on June 26th as our goal date. My goal is to shoot before the July 1st deadline by at least a few days. We're gonna get this done right. We have an advisory committee that's been working with us from the beginning. It does involve some campus employees, users that use a high volume of users. They're also doing testing right now. We're completing our testing stage. I see Dave is on here. Dave has been part of our testing of the work order process as it is today. So our goal is to go live on June 26th. We will have recordings and a training landing page. So you can teach yourself. It's very, very easy to submit a request, but we will have a video that you can use to walk through it. We'll have on our landing page some additional information on how the work order system works, anything you might need to know, anything related to our projects process, which is a little bit different process than work order submissions for general maintenance and repair. Happy to take any questions on the work order system. I know it's probably new for most of you, but we will be doing everything we can to communicate it ahead of time and make access available as soon as it is ready to go. Laura, you have a question.
Yeah, as part of the testing and I guess as part of the purchase of the package, is the program accessible in terms of people that have used different technology in terms of access for accessibility purposes?
So we do, one of our representatives is on the accessibility committee from the vice chancellor. So I'll reach out to him and find out what we know. There is some functionality in there, but I'm happy to do a little more of a detailed review of that. There is some functionality there, but I'll connect with Alan, who's on that chancellor committee, and talk with him about that in particular.
Okay. Because we do have staff that use different types of equipment, and I just want to make sure we're not going to, if there's things that we need to consider.
Yeah.
And you know, if you have any information that you can share with me, Laura, about that equipment, I can ask our partners who are our vendor partner who's developing at Accruent to see about that functionality in specific. So if there's anything that your organization recommends or that the campus recommends for these needs, accessibility needs, I'm happy to ask very specific questions about that. And you can.
Well, part of it is it keyboard? It needs to be keyboard accessible because not everybody can use a mouse for various reasons. And then also some people use screen readers. So is it screen reader accessible?
Okay.
We can check on those things. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the keyboard one came up with keyboard only accessible, and I believe that answer is yes, but I will double check both of those for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Laura. Other questions? This is really going to help us. We didn't think we were going to get a new work order system. Our legacy one's from '98, but thanks to Impact 23, we are. So we're happy for that. And we'll obviously be rolling out different phases. So phase one is just going to get it up and running. And then multiple phases will help us, fine tune it over the course of probably in the next year. So.
And the other thing I would add too is the service level information that Adam shared earlier with the 7, 15 or 14 and 21 days. Those are going to actually be tied. So when my front desk team determines a priority based on what the issue is incoming, whether it is considered an emergency or if it's an essential or normal work order, that will be tied. So it will be noticeable and visible when those timelines are not met. So that will be another nuance, and it is a learning moment for our technicians as well and our maintenance leadership, that they will see that and that will be visible and reportable.
Yeah, thanks, Ron.
Another enhancement that we have there.
Alrighty. I think that is the slides I have. So feel free to ask questions. We'll hang around here for a minute or two. If you don't feel like you want to ask questions in this setting, that's fine. You can always email us, Ron, myself, or Aaron, and we'll be happy to get back to you on anything. Also, if you haven't looked at the draft guide to services on our website, Aaron maybe could throw it in the chat. Feel free to just have a peek. It's very detailed. It goes down to all the specifics for every shop, what's in, what's out. And obviously we'll be looking at over the next year, what are the services that we should adjust or shift or add or subtract from this service level. So feel free to peruse and let us know if you have questions. Dave.
Morning, Adam. Thank you for taking the time, this morning. Good presentation. I know facilities is going through a lot of changes and a lot of upgrades. And so far, what I've seen and read, and it's a lot of positive stuff. There's one area though that I think facilities could improve on, just based on, the last 9
Sure.
years I've been here is the communication.
Yep.
From the project managers,
Yep.
from the trade supervisors. I'll go 3 or 4 weeks and you won't hear anything after submitting a project, and then we're looking into it. Somebody's assigned, they'll get in touch with you. It just seems like I'm always the one initiating that conversation or email to say, where do we stand on this? And I'm always requesting the updates.
Yep.
So just that's my takeaway. One example you guys could focus on, I think, would definitely improve across campus.
Agreed. And every session, every time I meet with faculty, staff, customer, I mean, it's the same thing. And Ron and I hear that loud and clear. And as Ron's, head of our, I would say, customer service team, but communication, we have to partner closely with our custodial and ERS team and maintenance and now projects to make sure that we're holding them to the levels we just shared, the prioritization levels, and then developing that communication, feedback, and responsibility. Because it wasn't like, and it still isn't ingrained and tuned in them, but there's a lot of opportunity, I guess, to say it nicely. There's a lot of opportunity for us to improve. I'll say in the project world, it's brand new, and we do have a process where you should be getting a project going within a month. I'll say a month because you submit a project request, it comes in, we give 2 weeks for us to determine whether it's going to go to PD&C or us, and that's through a triage process, and it's well established. Once that happens, after that 2 weeks, it gets assigned to a project manager. They have about a week to get back to you on, hey, I got your request, let me understand more. And then if it's a simple thing, they should be off and running with, okay, let's schedule either an outside contractor or our internal trades to help get this work done, and then put that timeline together. Now, Dan Lerman, the group, right? It's still it's still working through sort of the infancy stages. So I hear you loud and clear. We'll make sure we tighten that up. And then in the maintenance world, there's a lot of tightening to do, and Ron and I are aligned with Chris to tighten that world up. It will take some time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I know we got to get better. I would say this is a piece that plagues every facilities department, I would say. And the ones who do it really well, right? If you I always use the example, if you go to a hotel that's really dialed in, they've got you on text message and they say, do you need anything? Do you have any issues with your room? Any facilities that we can, we want to get to a concierge service way down the line where we're being way more proactive, and you're annoyed with us being too proactive than not hearing anything, but that's going to take a little bit of time. So. Other questions? Good one, Dave. Thank you.
Hi, Adam. This is Cynthia from Student Health Services. I piggyback what Dave said, but I just want to take this time to say thank you to you, to Adam, and to Chris, and to Ron for everything and all your support here at Student Health Services. And we can't wait to get into the new building. So
yeah, we'll be neighbors.
All I got to say. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. I mean, again, establishing sort of our relationship as a facilities department, that's not just call me when it's something's flooding or your power's off. We want to get to that level. The nature of the game is I've met a lot of you or a lot of folks through UCR by we've got an issue or an escalated problem, and that's okay. I'm used to that. That's how we work. But having more of the positive interactions and developing things that work and that are common sense and that we're not, going over and over again that don't work, that's where we want to go. So, but yeah, thank you, Cynthia.
And I also just want to say kudos to your team, to the skills trade guys. Everyone that has come through has been very professional and trying to piece us and keep us all together here. And just shout out to your guys' team and thank you for all you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, this presentation didn't even hit on new construction support. And that's a big piece of what we do in figuring out utility connections and how buildings, when they're, getting off the ground, how they should work for us. And so we're the inheritor, if you will, of new construction. So it's a lot of time and effort, and that's just another wing of what we do, but I did not mention that in this presentation.
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
It's a whole
come
nother
back.
presentation.
Come back for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to do, and I'm encouraging our team to do more of this. David did a how power works last year to explain about how our power situation works on campus. We may do we were talking about how deferred maintenance work and like state funding for that work. So we may talk about that and have a town hall or meeting, because it takes an hour out of your day. And if you're learning more about the inner workings of facilities and operations for UCR, you're better informed, and you probably would feel more connected to the problems, I guess, and challenges that we face. So we'll continue to do some of those series. So look for those and look out for the invites. All righty. Let's see. All right, this is one of our shorter sessions, but thank you all for joining. Again, if there's more questions, happy to stick around. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. We'll put this recording up on our website, so if you want to watch it again and again, feel free, or want to send it off to someone who wasn't able to join, that works as well. So thanks, and have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.